So today we're interviewing Mr. Matt Milligan, all the way from the great state of Idaho, Boise, Idaho. You know what, Matt? Funny, true story. I got my first sales job going to school down in Utah, and it was a door-to-door summer program where you would sell alarm systems door-to-door during the summer. And guess where the first city was that they sent me? Boise, freaking Idaho. So that is where I literally knocked on my first door, and everything from NEPQ started from freaking Boise, Idaho. There you go, of all places. So I am the founder and chairman of Seventh Level. We are a global sales training organization that trains people exactly like you watching me and Matt today. Okay, so we train sales professionals just like you watching. We train salespeople. We train coaches. We train sales management. We train sales executives, sales leadership, okay, entrepreneurs, business owners. And we transform the way you and your team sell by learning specific skills and questions that work with human behavior rather than work against it. And we're gonna open up Matt on what that difference is that we've taught him compared to how he used to sell before. Okay. Now those are known as neuro-emotional persuasion questions. That stands. So when I say NEPQ, that's what I mean. Neuro-emotional persuasion questions. Now we have to teach you the right tonality, the right delivery, so you don't sound like a scripted robot, and it puts your prospects at ease. It eliminates sales pressure and triggers them to actually want to engage with you, to actually want to open up to you, go deeper than just the surface level. So you really stop getting so many, I want to think it over objections. We don't have the money objections, because you were never able to take them below the surface to what was really going on. Okay. And we're going to talk a lot about that today, self-persuasion. All right. Matt, I have to ask you some personal questions. When you wake up in the morning, do you brush your teeth?
Of course.
Okay. Do you eat breakfast?
Most days. Yeah.
Most days. Do you wear clothing?
Of course.
Do you drive a car?
I do.
Do you ever have fears in your life or anxiety or anything like that?
Oh, sure. Absolutely.
Okay. So what you're saying is you're pretty much like everybody else here watching.
Oh, yeah.
You're making way more money as a salesperson than they are. What do you think the difference is?
Well, I mean, I'm just an average guy, and, I decided to invest, in the program, and I've just radically seen a transformation in my sales ability and confidence. But like you said, I am average. I mean, an average guy. I'm just, I go into appointments looking exactly like I do right now, just like a good old boy, and so.
It's got to be the hat, man, that took you from $7,000 a month to $30,000 a month. I love it. Yeah. So the point is, everybody, you want to acquire the same skills as Matt. Matt's no different than any of you. I'm no different than any of you. Our thousands of our clients are literally no different than you are. The only difference is they now have knowledge that you don't have. And what's your biggest expense in life? It's your lack of knowledge of not having the right sales skills, the right sales ability that works with human behavior for you to be able to make what Matt and thousands of our clients are now making, 20, 25, 30, 40, 50,000 plus a month in commissions or more. Once you have the same knowledge Matt has, what type of results do you get? You get the same results. It's all about the skill sets you acquire. Okay, Matt, nobody cares about me. Selfishly, they only care about you and what we're going to talk about today. All right. Okay, Matt. Walk us through. The first question I have to ask you, were you born out of your mother's womb with advanced questioning skills and tonality skills, or is that something you acquired?
That's definitely something I acquired.
Okay. So what you're saying is you weren't born with all those skill sets. You had to learn them.
Correct.
That's so interesting. Okay. So walk us back. I know you've been in sales. I was talking to you about 10 minutes before we get on here. How long have you been in sales? Quite a while, even as a kid in high school, right?
Yeah, off and on since I was 16. I started selling plasma TVs at Best Buy, non-commissioned, just hourly. And a few, few little stays with different cell phone companies and whatnot, and other sales positions.
Okay. So you got into sales early on. After you got out of high school, maybe if you went to college, what type of sales did you get into?
So after high school would have been just team, like, working for the big cell phone companies and that kind of stuff, and just really doing kind of poorly or just kind of average.
So you're in your mid 30s. So you got into cell phone sales, what, like 2008, 2010, 2012?
Yeah, it would be like my junior year in high school is when I started.
Okay. And then when you got into sales as a cell phone salesperson, like what type of sales training did you go through?
Well, they give you a version of a 10-step type generic, program. I was, in some of those instances, I was the guy in the middle of the mall that annoys the hell out of you, as you walk by. So it doesn't get off to a good start immediately. And you don't pretty much figure out what the customer is doing or what they like. You're just trying to throw your product and just cram it down their throat. Basically.
You're like one of those guys, at the little outdoor stuff in like Tijuana, Mexico, that just like, throws stuff products in your face and tries to get some money from you.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So then you got out of selling cell phones, and what did you get into as far as your sales career?
So in that, I had a little bit of a stay in procurement and a desk job. And then when COVID happened, there was some layoffs, unfortunately, which turned out to be a really good thing in hindsight. I did a stay with a little while for a plumbing company and a really great job. And I had a great desk with a great view. And I just decided it wasn't for me. So that's when I really started going. That was an inside sales job, just making about, 50 to 60,000 a year. And then I tried a gutter company that, was pretty successful, but wasn't a good fit. And then I got with my current company now, November of last year.
So, okay. So we're talking, what, 8 months ago, 7 months ago? Okay. What do you sell now? What industry are you in?
So I'm in remodeling in-home, first call warm leads, first call close. And I do mainly shower conversions and bathroom remodeling. Secondary, I sell windows and then entry doors.
Okay, so it's bathroom remodeling. Basically, I'm assuming, because we train a lot of companies in your space as well, but especially home improvement in general, like kitchen repair and siding and all that kind of stuff. However, and we have a big account that I know that comes in. So you guys come into the bathroom stuff, and when somebody's elderly, right, they could fall in a regular shower bathtub. So you put in these like safety measures in the bathtub to really help prevent that, right?
Correct. It just transform a bathtub shower into a walk-in shower, or just really, it doesn't have to be just accessibility. Any updates they want to a shower, but the majority is probably due to mobility issues.
Okay. All right. So you're solving problems, right? If these people don't purchase what you're offering, could be some serious consequences as they get older.
Correct.
Okay. All right. So walk me through, before you got into NEPQ. So just act like you don't know anything now. So we're saying last September, last October, how were you taught how to sell? Like because in your industry, for the most part, you get inbound leads, you have an appointment, you go over to their home. And, a lot of people say like, oh, well, inbound leads, that's really easy. Well, typically they're also getting quotes from 4 or 5 other companies at the same time. So there's a lot of competition. It's not like you're the only person coming over the home. The average person's probably getting 2 or 3 quotes, right, from other companies.
Right.
So it's not as easy as what some people would think. You have to learn advanced skills, just like every industry has its, positives and negatives, and that's a positive and that's a negative. So when you go into the home, how are you really taught how to really connect with the prospect before you learned NEPQ?
So before NEPQ, and when you go into a home, it was really part of a 10-step process where you
10-step process.
Yeah, you call it the first step to answer your question to really connect with the client is the fluff. You throw out, you look around, you try to see if they're a fisherman like I am, or like you try to relate with them with some fluff. That everybody
you're taught to look around at the pictures, ask them how their day's going,
Right.
Who won the game last night. Oh, I like to fish too. So you were taught how to ask that, but how would most people react to you when you would do that?
It depends on the person. If they're more extroverted, they try to kind of be polite with you. But for the most part, I mean, it's just kind of like filler. They're just kind of like, yeah, okay, or they'll, if you're really good at it, they'll get into it for a minute, but then they kind of shut you down and just kind of like, okay, let's move on. Like for what
why do you think they shut you down?
Probably because every single person that comes in there is doing the exact same thing.
Yeah. So every salesperson that's ever tried to sell them anything, whether they come to their house, whether they've called on the phone, whether they've cold called, whether they've been in Best Buy, whether they've been anywhere, is also saying the same damn thing. How are you doing today? Look, I want to make sure everybody understands. When you sound like every other salesperson has ever tried to sell this prospect something, what do you think psychologically is going through your prospect's mind in the first 30 seconds? They're labeling you like every other salesperson. They are literally, you are triggering them just by asking that question that everybody asks them. You are triggering them where the walls of resistance immediately go up. They basically, you might as well write salesperson on your forehead, and they're going to push you off to the side and deal with you and commoditize you. Okay. Mm-hmm. Now, since you've learned NEPQ, what's one good connecting question that we've taught you? I'm not going to have you give all connecting questions we've taught you, but one good connecting question we've taught you, and then how do your prospects now respond to that way of opening them up?
Yeah. So right after I do the disarming statement, when I walk inside, just saying, hey, I don't know if I can help you or not. We kind of sit down at the table or whatnot, and my connecting question is semi-connecting, maybe a little bit situational, but it does two things really. I want to know what number bid I am when I go in there, and then I want to know if they've seen any product or their education or level. So my question is, so before you guys had me out here today, have you been out there and have you seen any product, or have you been shown any product that you actually like?
Why do you do that? Tell us why you do that.
Yeah. So number one, I wanted to see where I am in a bid process in my industry. That everybody kind of wants to get 3 bids type thing.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is I want to gauge their education level, and I want to see if they've been shown something that they like or not. And then I'm going to go, okay, well, what do you like or dislike about that? Okay. So I know what's important to cover later on in my process, and what amount of detail I need to really go into with this client.
Yeah. Walk us through. You said something earlier that I think might help everybody watching. You said that we've taught you how to disarm them.
Oh, yeah.
What do you mean by that? Give us an example.
Yeah. So when I knock on the door, this has been probably one of the most powerful things that I do. I see body language change like immediately. I knock on the door and say, hey, it's just Matt with XYZ company. I understand that you guys are possibly thinking about making some changes. Is it to a shower like that? And then you get 1 or 2 responses. They immediately say, oh, no, we're not thinking about it. We're going to do something. Yeah. Or you get the person that's just going, yeah, I'm just kind of collecting bids. And then whatever they answer they give me, I go into my disarming statement of, okay, well, in order for me to see if I really can help you at all, if it'd be okay with you, can I ask you some questions and we just have a conversation about what a possible solution even looks like?
Okay. And how do they react to that? You said their body language changes. How does it change?
Yeah. So they kind of, I get like, yeah, they go, yeah, that's not a problem. And usually they either, are kind of like this and their arms come unfolded, or they have this confused look on their face. Like, why did he just ask me that? And then as we go through this process, I can see where they're just kind of like, they don't kind of care. I'm just a salesman that walked through the door. But as I disarm them and start doing my process and questions, it turns into a conversation with somebody rather than just I'm across the table trying to sell them something.
Yeah, you disarm them. So when they're disarmed, they open up.
Correct.
If you don't know how to disarm them because you haven't learned how to do that yet, because you're not one of our clients, if your prospect stays, the wall up the whole time, guess what objection you're going to get most of the time being? I want to think it over. Give me some time. We'll get back to you if I'm interested. Okay, so you notice how it disarms them. All right. So they typically open up. You can see by their body language. All right. Now let's talk about situation questions. So before before you learned the NEPQ, how were you taught how to find out really what their current situation even was? And would they even tell you what their current situation was?
Yeah. So with this one, before I was taught NEPQ in my current job, we had a process to where you kind of just ask them, what they have. You don't really ask them what they like or dislike about it. You just kind of have them go into like either the shower or the windows or something like that, and just kind of ask what they're looking for. And you're really trying to kind of shoot in the dark and figure out what features or advantages that you can tie into.
Okay, so you've basically been taught how to ask what's called consultative questions, right?
Correct.
We call them surface level questions, where you're asking logical based questions like what type of shower do you have, and they give you what in return. They're giving you logical based answers in return. Now, what's the problem with that though? Do human beings make decisions on logic or emotion?
Oh, emotion, and then they filter by the logic. Yeah,
100%. So if we only know how to ask logical based questions and they give us logical based answers in return, then that's why we get so many objections at the end, because we were never able to go below the surface and really pull out their pain and their need. And really, for a lot of people, sometimes it's even solving an emotional need, right, with what you do. See the difference there? Okay, so situation questions. Now, what's a good situation we've taught? I'm not going to have you give them all your situation questions you've learned now, but what's one good situation question we've taught you that typically helps you really find out what's really going on?
For situation, I usually have 3 standard ones that I customize, depending on the call that I'm going on. Okay. One of the best ones, it's pretty straightforward. It's just, so Mrs. Smith, how long have you seriously been wanting to change, or how long have you been feeling like making this change?
Okay. And what does that do? Why do you ask that question? What does it do?
So when I ask that, the customer will tell me, oh, it's been, 3 months, 6 months, a year. And when they say that out loud, it's building urgency with them, and it's making them realize how long they've actually put this project off.
Yeah.
And so then I'll say, okay, that long, or and then they'll usually come up with a excuse like, oh yeah, I know it really needs to be done. I've just been putting it off, or something like that. So it's one of my questions that helps build urgency throughout.
Okay, so it helps them see how long they've had the problem, and basically that nothing has ever changed because they haven't done anything about actually changing the problem. Basically, is that what it is?
Correct.
All right, let's talk about problem awareness questions. Okay, so before you learned NEPQ, how did you even try to find out what their problems were, or help them find out what their problems were? Because most of your prospects don't even realize they have a problem. Even if they have you come out to their house for an appointment, most prospects don't realize they have a problem, or they might realize they have a problem, but they don't realize how bad it really is, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And so I will do the what do you like and dislike, and I'll work on my tonality. Like, what do you actually, like about your current, but beforehand, it's really just kind of like generic surface level. Like, what are you looking for? What problems are you having? We try to get the information out from the client, but you're still just getting those surface level, problems, or those surface level issues, really.
Yeah. All right. So what's one good problem awareness question you've learned now? Because there's multiple ones that we would use, especially with what you sell. What's one good problem awareness question that you're using now, and why is it so effective?
So there's 2. The first one I do is just the straightforward, what do you actually like about your current one, which by the time they call me out, they hate their scenario, and they'll say, I don't like anything about it. And I go, oh, okay. And I'll probe. The probing behind that is really what's gets you the information.
Can I help you with that question? If you're going to use that question, a better way to say it is you can say, and this is more in our inner circle stuff, you haven't gotten to that program yet, but you say, now it can't, so Mrs. Johnson, it can't be all doom and gloom.
Yeah.
What do you actually like about it? And it kind of makes them crack up. It's a really good pattern up. They're like, and it causes them to trust you more. Now, it can't be all doom and gloom. Yeah. What do you actually like? That'll open up a little bit better there for sure.
Yeah. And I'll laugh, or I'll make something like, oh, like really? Like, there's gotta be something if you think about it. And then, I won't necessarily feed them, but I'll say, okay, well, I'll rephrase it and be like, what would be important for you to keep with a possible new solution?
Okay.
And something like that.
Yeah. All right. Perfect. You said you have another problem awareness question. What's that?
Yeah. So with problem awareness, I'll ask them. We deal with a lot of issues like mold or it's installation processes problems. I'll try to bring up things like what arrangements or what plans have you made for XYZ problem? Whether it's mold, whether it's something I can see that's a problem for cleaning, something that they've given me throughout the process already, and it helps them figure out a problem that they didn't know they had ahead of time.
Now, because when you walk in, they kind of know with an inbound lead, they kind of know they have a problem. They don't know how bad that problem is.
Correct.
By that question that allows them to see that they have a second problem.
Correct.
What does that psychologically do in their mind?
They brew on it. They'll ask me for a solution immediately, and I don't want to solve that solution right then. I go, okay, and I'll disarm or deflect and go, okay, well, we can discuss that here in just a little bit.
Yeah.
And throughout the process, I can see the wheels turning where it's bothering them.
Because now you look far more valuable in their mind because
Right.
you've just helped them. It's problem finding, right? You've now helped them realize that they actually have two problems. And
Right.
other salespeople trying to win that person, trying to make that sale that you're competing with, I guarantee you wouldn't know how to do that because they're not our clients. They wouldn't have the skill sets to even know how to ask those questions. So now you're able to help them find 2 or 3 other problems they didn't realize they had, which does what? It builds urgency in their mind that they need to do something about this now, stop putting it down the road like they have been in the past.
Right.
What about solution awareness question? We don't have a lot of time on that, but what's one good solution awareness question we've taught you how to use?
So one of them would be where I say okay, so Mrs. Smith, other than, changing your bathtub so that you can step over and you don't have to be, in pain with your hips or backs, what other benefits are you really hoping to gain the most?
And why do you ask that question?
Because I want to get, if I've missed anything in my process, or I want them to really think about the solution and what their life would be like or what they want to achieve by making this change.
And another way you can relanguage that is you can say, so besides, and you repeat back what she said she wanted. So besides you just, wanting to make sure that you don't slip and fall because you're
Right.
on your own. Besides that, how do you see this, I guess, benefiting you the most?
Right.
Another way to relanguage that question you just asked. All right. Consequence. Why are consequence questions so important?
So that makes them just think about the doom and gloom, and that if they don't actually do anything, that nothing is going to change.
Help them find out what their current situation is. We call that their current state.
Right.
You've built a gap in their mind from where they are compared to where they want to be.
Sure.
Okay, your problem awareness in the first half of your solution awareness questions. Now we have to get them to see what their future is going to look like once all these newfound problems your questions have helped them see they have are actually solved. What does it look like once their future or their objectives are solved? We call that their objective state. So what's a good solution awareness question that we've taught you to use for that?
Yeah. So when I do that, I will say something like, it's right after I ask, well, why is this important now? And then I'll follow it up with, well, if you had to think about it, what type of impact or what's the cost of doing nothing? Or
what do they say when you say that?
They'll stop and kind of think, well, I don't know, or they'll be confused, and I'll say, well, if you had to think about it, and they'll say, well, shoot, I've already put it off, or if I don't do it now, then I'm going to have to live in pain, or I'm going to have to, nothing will change, or the cost of goods will keep going up and I'll have to pay more later. Just something usually along those lines, especially with,
so time to make a change.
Yeah. So it seems,
yeah. And one way you could relanguage your consequence question where it hits even harder is you can say, okay, but help me understand. You have to say this in a skeptical yet you're concerned for them tone,
Sure.
empathy. So help me understand. So Sally, what happens though if you guys don't do anything about this,
right?
And then your husband's out of town on his business trips, and something happens to you where you slip and fall? Like what happens then? Or
Right.
whatever they said their concern was.
Right.
See, because that gets them to think, well, okay, but what are the ramifications if you guys don't do anything about this? And then your husband's out of town on another trip, and then something happens where you fall and you can't even get help. Like what happens then? See, it's like this concerned tone that you have for them.
Right.
Really triggers them like, oh no, we've got to do something. And then you can say, okay, but hold on though. You've put this off in the past. Why look at doing this now rather than pushing it off down the road like a lot of people would that end up having some major issues?
Right.
See, that triggers me like, oh, the reason why we have to do it now is because of this, this, and this, which typically takes away that objection that a lot of people get was, we need to keep looking around. We need to keep getting more quotes. We need to keep doing more research. If you ask those questions in that way, like we teach in our virtual training course, you're going to eliminate 80% of those.
Yeah.
Now, tell me about this. Once you've learned how to do that, compared to how you used to sell, what do you think the percentages of objections you've eliminated compared to what you used to get?
Quite a bit. Currently, right now, I'm closing between about 60 to 70% of the clients that I actually sit down and demo with. And honestly, objection handling is not even really my strong suit. In the past, even with NEPQ, I would revert back to kind of hard closing type stuff, and I've learned to kind of go away from that. But I've been blessed.
Have you got the new product, the objection obliteration course?
I don't think so on that one.
You want to message us in the DMs because it's a new product. We just released it 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
It's 2 weeks ago. So it's a 4-hour virtual training course just on the top 50 objections.
See, we've got what NEPQ allows me to do, even if I mess up in the process.
And all the word for word scripts.
Yeah. So, I mean, even if I mess up in the process, honestly, the majority of sales I get are laydowns where I give out 3 options and they go, we'll go with this right here. But when I do have objections, in the past, I just wouldn't be able to do it. I would try to reiterate the features and the benefits as opposed to going through and doing the clarified, diffuse, and discuss, right?
That right there will probably make you, instead of 60%, up to 80%.
Yeah.
All right. Good job, man. We're proud of you over here. Okay. So we don't have time to really go in through how we've taught you how to kind of restructure your presentation. That's a little bit longer of an interview for that. Commitment questions. How did you used to try to close before NEPQ? What would you say in your old closing days?
I don't really think that there was a whole lot of commitment statements at all, if we're being honest on it.
What would you say at the end?
I mean, yeah, like it would be kind of like an option type close, or would you like to do X, Y, Z, or do X?
You want the red one or the blue one?
Exactly, something like that, or how about we get you written up today, or get you set this out for delivery, or how about
what would they typically say when you said that?
They go, I think about an objection. Really, is what comes out of that kind of stuff.
100%. What type of commitment? Just give them one example, because there's multiple commitment questions, that you're learning through the virtual training course and the group coaching. But what's one good commitment question we've taught you how to use?
So for commitment, I would say this is after I do like a presentation or throughout that process and be like, well, does it seem like, this is a good fit for you? And then be like, does this solution sound like it's the right one? Or right before I roll out pricing, I'll ask like, hey, do you feel like this is the right solution? And then I'll be skeptical and ask them why after that as well.
Yeah. Another way to relanguage that. So do you feel like this could be the answer for you? Don't say, and I know you're not doing it, but for everybody listening, never say, do you think?
Right. Do you feel? Yeah.
Think is logical. Feel is emotional. And again, human beings make buying decisions on emotion or logic. So that's why you never want to say think, everybody. Do you feel like this could be the answer for you? Now, 99.9% of people are going to say, yes, it is, or they're going to say, yes, but, and they're going to tell you their concern. That's why it's so important to ask it that way. Okay, they're going to say, oh, yeah, for sure. Or they're going to say, yeah, I really do, but we don't have the budget, but we got this. And they're going to tell you the real concern there. Okay. Now, since you've switched to just asking those type of commitment questions, what type of typical response do you get at the end?
When I do that, if I've done the process correctly, they say with confidence, yes, like, yeah. And then I'll ask, but why do you feel that way though? And then they'll reiterate, well, because this is going to do this for me. This has this. And then I'll just kind of be like, okay, well, that makes sense. And then I'll recap right before I roll out pricing. I'll recap. So in order for us to get you this XYZ so that you can do this, it's just going to be this. And then it's all sale from there.
Yeah, 100%. I love it. Dude, hey, congratulations on your success. I always ask every new client that we interview. I ask a client or two every single week. Uh-huh. I know you're about to get married, right?
I am.
Is your fiance, is she happy that you got into the training?
She is quite happy. We're not used to the amount of income that's coming in. And I remember having a phone call with her when I was on with Luke before I joined saying, hey, hon, I'm going to spend XYZ amount of money in this training and I'm going to put my all into it. And looking back, it was one of the best decisions I've ever made.
Why do you think it is?
Well, it's transformed my life. I'm at a place where, no matter what happens, I'm confident and I have the skills to provide for my family. Take care of debt. I bought a new car. We're looking at, a complete lifestyle change. It's a completely change in your life for the better.
So going from 80 to 90,000 a year to you're on pace to make, I think 340,000 this year.
Correct.
What's different besides buying a new house and a car?
Oh, I mean, shoot, being selfish, a new truck and a bass boat maybe in the future. But
truck and a bass boat, I love it.
Yeah, but honestly, it's the security behind providing for my new family. And so just
do you feel like with what you're learning right now? Uh-huh. Let's say that your industry let's say there's a Great Depression and nobody spends $1 on home improvement, which we know is not realistic.
Sure.
But let's just say the industry you're in is gone right now. Could you take your skill level with NEPQ and go to another industry and do exceptionally well?
Oh, absolutely.
What would be the biggest reason why you think you could?
Well, it's the fact that I've seen the way that this program works with human emotion and the way just the success rate. I mean, it's the way that people open up to you, and you can have people that are just, kind of pushy or they're standoffish at first, and then you go through this process, and by the end of it, they're writing you a $15,000 check.
Yeah. Not only are you making more sales, but you, I'm assuming, are getting to buy more product.
Correct.
So you're making a higher what's it called, DPI, dollar per lead, right? So right. Instead of making it on average a $6 or $7 or $8 order, you're now probably way higher than that, which increases your commissions.
Yeah, I think my average is around 13 or 14. So every time I go out and work for about 2 hours or so, I make about $1,400 at least a day.
It's not bad. A couple hours of work, $1,500. You'll take it, right? All right. Any last words of advice for anybody listening here that maybe is new to sales, or maybe they're a vet and they're like, should I get into the training? I don't know. Will it work for what I sell? Even though we say every industry in the world.
Yeah, honestly, I was skeptical too, Jeremy, when I saw this on here, but you've got to decide that you're going to invest in your future. For me, doing that was a huge leap. I owe a big gratitude to my coworker and friend, Terry McCabe, who is also a client of yours. He collaborates and helps me with this. But if you want to transform your life to people who are actually thinking about making this step, nothing's going to change if you don't take that step. And I'm a living, breathing example of just an average guy that worked a 9 to 5, got tired of it, and transformed my lifestyle.
Yeah. All it takes are the right skills, right? Like everybody listening right now, all it takes are the right skills in the industry you're in right now. It's not like Matt's industry is the only industry where our clients make $30,000 a month. We train in 158 different industries. Forbes magazine came out the other day and said there are 158 different industries with different subsets. We are in every single industry at this point. And I can pretty much guarantee everybody listening right now, we are training salespeople and companies in the same industry you're in right now. Same type of people you guys are right now listening to me that are outselling you 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 times. That means they're making 2, 3, 4, 5 times the amount of commissions you make. And they are no different than you are. They brush their teeth. They eat breakfast like Matt does. They wear hats. They wear clothes. Maybe they say their prayers at night. I mean, they are real people like you. The only difference is they've acquired the right skills. They've acquired the right knowledge, and then they went out and used those skills. That's available for everybody on here to get the same type of results that Matt has and thousands of our clients are getting. There's a reason why we have, it's almost 7,000 testimonials now in the last 28 months, like 6,800 something. I lose track. We have like another 10 or 15 every day at this point. So guys, if you want to learn those type of skills, you want to start making your first 10 grand a month in commissions with what you sell, or 15 grand a month in commissions with your job right now, or maybe you want to make 20, 25, 30 plus, 40 plus a month like Matt is doing in your industry right now, then just message me directly right now. We train Fortune 500 all the way down to SMB, all the way down to individual salespeople selling anything at this point. And you want to scale your company, even if you're doing well. Let's say you're a 7-figure company, you want to go to 8 figures, or you're an 8-figure company that wants to go to 9 figures. All it takes are the right skills for your salespeople. So if you want to learn those skills, post hashtag NEPQ in the comments section. Either myself or someone on our team will message you back some details. Matt, thanks for being on here. Enjoy Boise. I spent 4 months of my life there. That's where I had my first sales job. The first 4 months of my career, I was shipped up there in a door-to-door summer program while I was going to school in Utah. So I lived up there from like April 28th to I think September 1st and was there 4 months. It's actually a great city.
It is. It is. All right. Well, thank you, Joel.
Have a good day. All right, everybody. We'll see you soon. Thanks, Matt, for being on here.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Hey guys, if you enjoyed these, here's another you can watch right over here. Join our free Sales Revolution group. Click the link below, join us, and we're going to help you. Thanks for watching. We'll see you real soon.